on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Greatly appreciate all those that reach out to our show hotline, support the local economy by supporting the Consumer Quarterback Show and all of our expert contributors. If you haven't heard of the show or maybe not familiar with our strategy here and our platform, we bring on local area business owners, CPAs, financial advisors, attorneys, home service providers, self-defense, so many different categories, 80 different categories, doctors, private pilots, boating, yachting experts, lots of different areas of business and finance and life that we help you as a consumer advocate. The goal is to be a consumer advocate in a sense where we're going to help you save time and money when it comes to researching your buying decisions, make you more street smart, and avoid commission-based advice. Reach out to the show hotline. We'd love to talk to you, 727-263-3707. If you need an introduction to a professional, anybody in any of these categories, reach out, 727-263-3707. We've been on air for over 10 years now as a consumer advocate right here in Tampa Bay. And, of course, you can go to the website, consumerqb.com. You can see links there to all of our expert contributors at consumerqb.com. And we've got Pinellas County Property Appraiser Mike Twitty in studio with us. And before we do, we always feature our listings live on air. And it's part of our strategy to help sellers sell faster for more money, maximizing the exposure and the profit on the sale of our real estate listings. We've got a property on Hardcastle Place right here in Valrico, 232 Hardcastle Place, Valrico, Florida. This is an affordable home, a great opportunity for maybe a first-time buyer to buy a property and potentially, build that equity in there. 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, plus a bonus room, 1,560 square feet. You have granite countertops in the kitchen. Primary walk-in has a closet and an ensuite, laundry room located upstairs, access to a community pool, beautiful community pool there, close to Highway 60, access to shopping, dining, and entertainment. 232 Hardcastle Place, Valrico, one of our hot real estate listings from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. Now, we also have a property at 8333 New York Avenue in Hudson. This is a commercial property over an acre of land in Hudson, Florida, which is Pasco County. 8333 New York Avenue, 1.5 acres, zone C3. You have 3 different structures, 2 residential buildings and 1 warehouse right here in beautiful Tampa Bay. Great opportunity to own real estate, and you can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumCoastalElite.com. Check out PlatinumCoastalElite.com.
Somewhere sunny and 75.
All right, Mike Twitty, welcome back in, sir.
Well, glad to be here again, Brandon.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the update, and we like getting, in touch with the community. It kind of lined up interesting. We had Chris Latvala on the first half, and then now we've got our Pinellas special here coming up on the Consumer Quarterback
Hopefully,
Show.
you didn't blame me for anything too bad.
No, that was between the breaks. That was, but yeah, man. So there's a lot of things that we can get into. You talk about those trim notices that come out, homestead exemptions are there. We definitely want to talk about our veterans, but also this NAR settlement is kind of topical too as well. The NAR settlement, it's not ratified yet. I believe it's going to be ratified in a couple of months, but what is your office hearing? What are you seeing over there?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest concern as someone that is all about public education and trying to educate consumers as well, whether it's new first-time Florida home buyers or repetitive buyers that just get sucked up in the change of the big value growth we've had and cap resets and all that, all those things, plus the changing landscape with property tax exemptions. So my concern, and I've been a realtor, I've had my broker's license since I think 1992, something like that. So it's scary. It's been that long. But
nice.
So I understand both sides of the argument, but my concern is I know that most buyers going into deals don't have the money to really pay a buyer's broker for that representation. So, and I'm just concerned that there may be a lot more uninformed buyers in the market trying to fly with no net, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Then you get the potential for lawsuits there. You get people overpaying maybe for properties. There's a plethora of things that could go wrong when you remove a professional from a transaction, especially when you think about real estate. How many dollars are on the line, and it's people's many times it's their primary residence, it's their their biggest asset. So I just hate to see what happened with the whole. The NAR settlement and these attorneys. I think Lawrence Yun has done a good job as the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. When I see his post and some of the things he's putting out on LinkedIn, he's done a pretty good job of analyzing it. He's blaming it on litigation or attorneys that are happy to litigate. That's one thing with attorneys. They're happy to get in the courtroom and get in there and litigate and try to see if they can shake things up. And I unfortunately, I think that's what it was. I think it was a form of Marxism, frankly. You see here we have an existing power structure or income structure flow. Typically, you have a 6% buyer agents, seller listing agents. You split that equally typically. And you got both sides being represented. It seems like it was working well. And the stats show that 90% of real estate sellers said they would work with their agent again. So that's an interesting stat. So if you have 90% approval, why change it? But anyways, that's kind of a little bit of a bunny trail. But yeah, the NAR settlement, that's big. People are talking about it, and they want to know more direction on where to go from there. But there's not.
Yeah, and I guess it all becomes official in mid-July. Is that correct?
I think so. Yeah. So that'll be either ratified or somehow amended. But so if you just joined us, we're talking with Pinellas County Property Appraiser Mike Twitty here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. What else are you seeing out there, Mike?
Well, obviously we've seen the market change quite a bit from a year ago. While we're still showing that single family as a whole in Pinellas County still value grew, but not at the astronomical rates that we saw the last 2 years before that.
Yeah.
Before that, we were seeing median price per square foot increase for the prior 2 years of about 21%.
Yeah.
On an annual basis for single family. That's probably more like 5 to 6% now.
Yeah, it's unsustainable at that rate.
It was an unsustainable rate. And condos we saw increase early in 2023, but then fall off in the back half of the year. So countywide condos for the most part are neutral, and depending on what complex you're in, they could be down, significantly, especially with the new mandatory reporting inspection criteria. So every condo kind of stands on its own right now.
Yeah. With
where their reserve requirements are and what their HOA fees are going to look like going forward. So a lot of flux in the condo market.
Right. You gotta be careful if you're buying a condo, thinking about buying a condo. That's where you definitely want representation.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of questions that the average layperson, that first time buyer, or could even be a veteran wanting to use his VA certificate, may not know to ask the right questions. And if you go into the project and you don't find out about the budget and the reserves, and then you buy it, and then you're 6 months in, and all of a sudden now they have a project that needs to be done, there's deferred maintenance or something along those lines, they're going to come asking you, they're going to come to you with a handout. And whatever that, there was a condo, I was talking with somebody the other day, and it was like $34 million or in that range. And I'm like, man, I wonder how many units are in that building because, or in that complex, because that's a lot of money to come up with.
Yeah, we've heard about some really healthy special assessments. I think Bayfront Tower downtown St. Pete got tagged with about $250 a unit.
$250 per unit.
$250,000.
$250,000 per unit.
Yes.
Wow. That's game changing there.
Yes.
That's an unexpected cost. People aren't factoring that in, and this is all because of the. It's coming around from the Surfside collapse, and it's right. The legislators, I think, took action and said, hey, if it's 3 stories tall or higher, 30 years old or older. And there was one other criteria, 3 miles to the beach or something maybe.
Right.
But something like that, they have to do these milestone reports and find out if the property is going to have issues. And if so, then, hey, now you have these special assessments.
Yeah, it's 30 years or older or 25 years or older if within 3 miles of the coast.
Okay, so it drops to 25. Got it.
Right.
So, Mike Twitty here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes. He's the Pinellas County Property Appraiser. And we're looking at, since we started about stats, I was just looking at these stats earlier. In Pinellas County, this is just for 1 week, we had 472 new listings and 820 price decreases. So it's an interesting kind of a market right now. We still have low inventory, but you have, with the interest rates, the insurance, these condo questions, challenges, we're still seeing price improvements, a record number of price decreases by sellers. So it's interesting, Mike.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, we've watched the supply numbers starting to creep up. Single family in Pinellas County-wide is at 3 months of supply. That's basically double what it was this time last year, I think, pretty close to it. It was probably like 1.8 or something like that about a year ago. And condos are up to 5.5. So that's where the realtors consider a balanced market.
Exactly.
They cross it to 5.5. So, and I think the way they calculate that, they calculate it based on the absorption over the average over 12 months. Well, we know the numbers are going down, so it's probably underestimating that number.
Right. Looking at a forward 12-month
if
projection.
you start projecting forward, that supply is going to, I think, amp up considerably.
Well, it's so much dictated on interest rates too. You look at the cost of funds, with the overall economic situation, it's not great. As much as a lot of the labor department, other folks out of DC want to say, oh, the economy's better, and these different things. It's not great. People are working 2 and 3 jobs. The savings rate for most Americans is the lowest it's been in history. Credit card debt is high. People are they're stretched. They're stretched thin.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the biggest thing holding people in their homes, which is keeping the supply number down, are their interest rates. They don't want to give up a 3% for a 7 or 8%. So that keeps them in their home, plus their Save Our Homes cap. So you have those two things working in tandem that, don't really promote a move very well.
Would you please explain that for us, that Save Our Homes cap?
Sure. So those in their homes with a homestead exemption establish what is referred to as a Save Our Homes cap after their first year of ownership. So they can never go up more than 3% in any given year after that. So that would be their maximum. It would be the CPI or 3%, whichever is less. And of course, we've had some radical inflation the last few years, so we have unfortunately hit that 3% cap for the last 3 years.
Yeah,
which is unprecedented as well, because historically, CPI's hovered about 2%. Okay.
Now, you can also port your homestead from one property to the next. It could be even if you're making a move to Pinellas or from Pinellas to Pasco, that doesn't matter. Would you explain that process too, please?
Sure. So that works. You can move anywhere in the state of Florida and take essentially your Save Our Homes benefit with you. So all 67 counties in the state would qualify for that, and we work with those other county property appraisers to approve those portability applications. So if I was moving, or say you're selling a home in Pinellas and moving to Pasco, you would look at the difference between your just value that the property appraiser puts on it and your assessed value. Okay. So if you're looking at a trim notice, it's the first 2 columns that reflect your values. The difference between those two is that portability amount, or that also called a differential.
Okay.
So you can take that Save Our Homes benefit effectively to your next property. So say it was $100,000.
Yep.
And as long as you're moving from, it's a lateral move in value from, say 500,000 to 500,000 of just value as determined by the respective property appraisers, you get to bring that whole port amount over up to 500,000.
Yeah.
So it can be a very substantial savings for people.
Yeah. That's awesome.
What we've seen right now is we've seen a lot of people in some higher end homes that have been there for a long time, especially out on our beaches, where it has jumped so much, it's jumped well in excess of that 500,000 that they can take. So I've seen millions, that are essentially locked up in those properties, which is another reason if they sell, even if they went like to like,
Yeah.
they're only going to be able to port 500,000, and they're starting over with the rest of their tax
Yeah.
bills.
So their taxes are going to go up inevitably. Yeah.
Yeah, substantially.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Coming up, more with Mike Twitty here, Pinellas County Property Appraiser on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We're going to take a quick break here. Follow us online. We'd love to connect with you at Brandon Rhymes 1, at CQB Show, and subscribe to the podcast and YouTube just by searching Consumer Quarterback Show. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or check out our YouTube channel. Have a blessed day.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. They offer the very best nationwide coverage on 4G and 5G LTE networks and exceptional 100% US-based customer support. Patriot Mobile offers discounts for veterans and first responders, NRA members, and families with multiple lines. Learn more at patriotmobile.com/consumer QB. That's patriotmobile.com/consumer QB. Or if you'd like to give us a call, you can reach out at 727-263-3707. That's 727-263-3707. And we'd be happy to tell you more about Patriot Mobile. Selling commercial, vacant land, or residential properties? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. You can reach me at 727-263-3707. Call or text 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here in studio with Mike Twitty, Pinellas County Property Appraiser. We'd like to feature our listings on air. I want to give a shout out to the Bilmar Beach Resort. Speaking of Pinellas County today, Bilmar Beach Resort is the official hotel partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Beautiful resort right on Treasure Island Beach there. Great opportunity to get away, have that local staycation. BilmarBeachResort.com. Let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. Say hello to Clyde Smith. He's the general manager. BilmarBeachResort.com. Let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. All right, hot listing here for this segment is 5642 Egret's Place. This one's in Newport Richey, gated community, beautiful home, one of my favorites right now. It's a Mediterranean palace, heated pool, waterfall feature on the pool, pavers, multiple balconies, great views. You got water views across the street there, and you have a gated community, 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath, 3,000 square foot home at 5642 Egret's Place, Newport Richey. Gourmet kitchen, center island featuring sink and wine refrigerator, updated stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, wood cabinets, and too many upgrades to mention here on the show. But you can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumCoastalElite.com. Check out PlatinumCoastalElite.com.
Yeah, I'm raising my glass to those saving our ass overseas.
Okay, Mike Twitty's in the house with us, Pinellas County Property Appraiser, talking all things Pinellas County. And Mike, what's your thoughts around the recent legislative session out of Tallahassee?
Well, it was a fast and furious one. I'm legislative chair for the Property Appraisers Association of Florida, so my January and February were the oxygen was
Wow.
taken up with a lot of ad valorem related tax bills this year. So from what I've been told, it was the most ad valorem related bills filed in the legislature ever. So approximately 30 different ad valorem related bills. About 6 passed, and another 8 concepts worked their way into the tax package that was reconciled at the end of the day. So some good things, a few good things passed for the public and our citizens and our homeowners, and then several things that were probably problematic did not make it to the finish line,
Okay.
which is probably a good thing. So you always have that good and bad balance. You have to
Right.
work through that. So it's a bit of a arm wrestling match throughout session.
Yeah.
tell you about a couple of the promising things. So for our veterans that are 100% TMP, total and permanently disabled, that would normally already be getting 100% exemption at their current homestead. Now, if they apply, say they come to you, they've got a new deal, they would normally have to wait. They'd have to pay their pro rata share of taxes for this year of closing, and then the next year they would be able to apply for a refund from the tax collector.
Yep.
But what'll happen now is they'll act, and that was becoming a problem with some of them not being able to qualify for the loan because the tax bill on paper the ratio was off. So now they'll be able to get essentially kind of a preliminary approval from the property appraiser. So they'll have to provide documentation early, and it'll be kind of like a pre-approval mortgage letter or something like that, but they'll do that with us, and they'll be able to have that in hand so that they can ensure they can qualify out of the gate.
Yeah, wow, that's important.
That.
That's an interesting one. I'm surprised that wasn't already in place.
Right.
What else you got, Mike?
There's going to be a constitutional amendment on the ballot. It'll be one of 6, I believe, that'll actually be on the ballot this year, but this is the only one ad valorem related. So it's going to, you'll be voting for an annual adjustment to the homestead exemption. But let me explain which piece of the homestead exemption you're going to be voting on. So you have a $50,000 homestead exemption.
Okay.
It's really broken into two 25s because homestead used to be 25.
Yes.
And that applied to all millage rates from $0 to $25,000 of value. But then you skip a band from 25 to 50. So then the next 25 is $50,000 to $75,000 of assessed value. That's the one that can increase at CPI going forward if you do a yes vote.
Okay.
So that would move at CPI, whatever it happens to be. For example, this year it's 3.4%.
Okay.
So each year it would be recalibrated, and that piece could increase your potential exemption.
Got it. Yep, that's interesting. We're talking with Mike Twitty. He's Pinellas County Property Appraiser here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And you also, as a public official, you have educational series coming up. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so every month we do a public education session in our South County office off 34th Street. And people can either come in person or they can attend virtually. So we do that as a lunchtime thing, usually noon to 1. April 11th is our next one upcoming, and our Director of Exemptions, who is also our in-house staff counsel, he will be breaking down Florida property tax law. So for those people that really want to get in the weeds on and understand how Save Our Homes and some different legislative things have affected tax law within Florida, it's a really great session. He gets into deed structure too, so tenancy. That's a really big thing. People try to, DIY their deeds.
Okay.
And they can really goof them up.
Oh, man.
Trying to
quick claims,
trying to save a couple bucks and not go see a real estate attorney.
Yep.
And then next thing they know, they've damaged their homestead or lost it, and then they cross a January 1, and we can't necessarily resurrect it.
Wow.
So it can be very problematic. So we highly advise people to get counsel when they're doing that, and not just do them themselves, because they think they're being sly and they're able to preserve a homestead, or they're doing things right for estate purposes, and it can be very problematic. So Alex, who will be leading that session, he'll be able to shed some light on that.
All right, very cool. So that's a public education session coming up on April 11th, was it?
Yes, at
noon to 1.
Yes.
Noon to 1. So if you want to join them on their 34th Street location, Mike Twitty, Pinellas County Property Appraiser here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And Mike, how do you want people to connect with you?
Well, you can always contact our office, 727-464-3207. We'll get you in our main line. You can always hit me direct at mtwitty, MTWITTY, at PCPAO.gov. That's for Pinellas County Property Appraisers Office.gov, PCPAO. pcpao.gov, and of course our website is pcpao.gov.
All right, good stuff. Thanks for coming in. Hey, another great show. We had Commissioner Chris Latvala, Mike Twitty, Pinellas County Property Appraiser, and we want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. We'll see you next time here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.